people who work hard but no longer have a voice. I am your voice.
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new live stream. Make sure you guys like the stream down below before we get started. We have a lot to get to. We already have plenty of super chats waiting on deck, and Donald Trump currently is building his cabinet. He won the election. Let's get to 100 likes, by the way, or this face cam is not going on. But he won. We know he won. It's time to get to work. And it's time to build the cabinet of a lifetime. And will he be able to do that? Well, I think he's already doing it by and large. We're going to talk about some of the picks. Some are definitely more exciting than others, and that's typically the way these things go. And there's some questions if we'll be able to get some of these people through the confirmation process. I don't even know the answers to all that. There's several theories. We could talk about them. We'll get to the super chats in the mix. But Donald Trump, he won. Now it's time to get to work and build, like I said. And this is really just what we have here. We have the cabinet picks, and the New York Times has not updated all of them, but we have several new picks that came out today. You have RFK Jr., who's going to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. We talked about RFK Jr. A lot of people said, where does he belong in this cabinet? He's very active in the health scene. He's somebody who wants to solve our health problem as a country, but we don't know where exactly in the cabinet he was going to go. Well, now it seems like Health and Human Services is the best job he really could ask for. He has been nominated for that position. Will he be confirmed? We have to find out. But there's a lot of picks that are in here. Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. This is a pick that nobody saw coming. Now, definitely it sent a lot of shockwaves, and it's drawn a lot of criticism from a lot of people, the usual suspects. So many people on the left, they say people didn't vote for this. It's like, yeah, they did. They voted to blow up the system. Was it just about grocery prices or the border? Obviously, the border is a big part of it, and the economy is a big part of it too. But what do those things have in common? You have a system that's broken, and people want to get to the bottom of it. But also you have a government gone rogue that is persecuting their political opposition. And you need somebody that's going to just be a total wrecking ball to go in there and clean out and drain the swamp. Now, is Gaetz going to be that guy? Does he have the experience? A lot of people are asking that question. He is an attorney. That's really all you need to be AG. A lot of people are saying it could have been Ken Paxton, and maybe Gaetz is somebody that's kind of being used as a bargaining chip. Maybe he's somebody who they go in there, they say, I can't do it, I can't accept this guy. So then Trump can say, okay, maybe I can get that Ken Paxton or that Andrew Bailey or whoever in that role. That's possible, although he is giving up his seat in Congress, so maybe there's some backroom deal he's a part of if like the ethics investigations were going to turn out to be bad for him. Who knows? But the bottom line is if he does get confirmed, which it does seem like a tall order, but if he does actually get confirmed, he will, in my opinion, go down as a massive success for the pick, just because he's somebody that just... He's just somebody that takes no prisoners when it comes to this stuff. Like, he'll go out there. He will find these people. He doesn't care. You know, he wants to do something. He cares about his reputation, you know, keeping up his appearances within not just like the MAGA sphere, but within Congress. He's always doing something. He's willing to put his career on the line to take out Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. There's going to be accountability if he's going to be AG. There are questions about, does he have like the experience or whatever? But we talk about experience so much, and I understand the need for like somebody who's going to be able to navigate these systems. But the truth is that we just need to kind of put experience to the side for a second and just install people that are willing to just do what it takes to deliver victories and to get things done more so than the political class that's been there for so long. Like, obviously there's people with experience that kind of bridge that gap. People like Ken Paxton, who probably, again, is somebody I'm not sure would get confirmed. But Gaetz, this is definitely a test for Donald Trump of the United States Senate as well. Can he get confirmed? And also, will he be able to deliver? He is somebody who is unabashedly a loyalist. He's somebody who wants to gut the deep state, take on corruption, not just within the government, but big business as well. And that is somebody that Donald Trump is putting in that position. He has a chance to go down as a very, very consequential and very, very good AG if he is able to get confirmed and if he is able to be in that position. But we're not quite there yet. But he's definitely a pick that came out of left field. But it's like, wow. If he gets confirmed and he gets in there, there's a big chance he's going to go down as his best pick. History, time will tell. But he's just one of the selections. Pete Hegseth for defense. That's another one. Not a lot of experience, but again, I'm sick and tired. It's in terms of the defense section where you have these generals. Very few of these generals Trump could pick from happen to have Donald Trump's worldview on foreign policy, and that's the way it is. You had the same people that were in there last time, people like Mattis that he selected. These people lied to Donald Trump about troop counts in Syria when they were heading the Pentagon, which is why we were not able to pull out of Syria as quickly as we may have been able to. Hegseth is somebody that's not exactly on that same wavelength. The Pentagon is scared. They're scared to death of this guy because they understand that he's not one of them. He's not in the club. He's somebody that has a very, very solid resume as well. Double Ivy League degree, sergeant major, several bronze stars recipient, from what I understand. But still, the guy is an outsider. And he's a Fox News host. That doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing or doesn't know what he's talking about. Some people on the flip side of this thing, they're saying, well, he kind of may show some hawkish tendencies or whatever. But all in all, the Pentagon is not exactly fond of this election. That's all you really need to know. Whether he said Trump should take out Soleimani or not, Trump took out Soleimani. Did he get into a war with Iran? No, he did not get into a war. Plain and simple. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in Trump's administration who wanted to escalate things further regardless. So that's kind of what it comes down to. You look at the selections that Trump is making. A lot of people are saying, the domestic selections, if they are on Trump's side ideologically, if they're like these never-Trumpers, they hate everything. That's the way it goes. But if they're on Trump's side, they're saying that the domestic positions are actually very solid. And the foreign ones are not so solid. People like Rubio, for example, they will point to. But in reality, I think that the foreign section is a mixed bag, you could argue. Rubio is definitely a mixed bag. I think he has a lot of potential, actually. He's come a long way. People forget that he's come a long way. This is not 2016 anymore. He's somebody that does blow the way the wind does. But who's blowing the wind? It's Trump. Who's he going to have to be loyal to? If the establishment's in there, yeah. 2016, before that, he was loyal to the status quo. We are the status quo now. Donald Trump is the one calling the shots. And he's been friends with Trump for years. They've grown to be good friends over the past 8 years. They've worked together on things. He talked Trump out of military action in Venezuela, to the point it's not typically what some warmonger would like to do. Now, he does have these neocon tendencies, but they've kind of faded away as time goes on. So again, he's kind of in this role. He has a lot to prove, but I'm willing to give him a chance, and I encourage other people to give him a chance. You look at the previous administration. Who did Trump have there? Rex Tillerson and Mike Pompeo, who are just die-in-the-wool neoconservatives, and Trump still had a great foreign policy. He still didn't even start any new wars, and he had a lot of people around him who wanted to go to war. Now you have a lot of people around Trump that are a little bit less hawkish in that regard. They're more in the peace through strength kind of camp, which kind of is more in line with Donald Trump's brand, all things considered. So, people like Hegseth, people like Rubio, they're going to be upgrades from people like Mattis or people like Pompeo on that front alone. And Nikki Haley's not in the picture either, the UN ambassador. You're replacing Haley with somebody who's more of a Trump loyalist, and Stefanik, who has a spotty record on several issues in Congress for sure. But still in that position, she's going to be relatively solid compared to Nikki Haley, compared to Nikki Haley's successor as well. And then you have Lee Zeldin at EPA, Doug Burgum at Secretary of Interior. Not really, the most eye-popping picks for the most eye-popping cabinet positions, but still decent picks overall in a more underrated fashion. Going to gut the regulations that are killing Jesse Gabbard at Director of National Intelligence. That's where she's going to be. She's going to be in a prominent position, assuming she gets confirmed. John Ratcliffe was one of the few decent people that Trump appointed for the intelligence agency last time. He's appointed. So you talk about building a team. You talk about where we were in 2017 through 2021. The people around Donald Trump, all of the bad people are gone. There's some people that are, people are questionable about some people, but those people are still just far, far better than the Bush era appointees, because you basically had a President Trump with like a Bush cabinet. You had Trump with a lot of these old guard people. And like the worst you kind of have in there are like the MAGA curious types, people like Rubio, people like Mike Waltz, who's improved his track record over the years. A lot of people were criticizing that position or that pick that Donald Trump made, which again, it's not one of the best picks in my opinion. But realistically, you're not going to give every single pick an A+. But I can't really give any pick like a C. Maybe Kristi Noem, because it's out of left field. But again, she's not going to be the one doing the work. She's the figurehead. She's the face of the department. She's plucked from her position as governor, and I believe she's a little bit overhyped, to be honest, up there in South Dakota. But they're taking her from there, probably going to get a better governor in South Dakota as a result. And you're putting her in charge of a cabinet position, a cabinet role, where she's going to basically be doing the paperwork for the border czar, who would not get confirmed for that slot, most likely in Tom Homan. Maybe he would, to be honest, but I think Trump kind of would like to have him be in that specific border czar position where he can influence other cabinet heads without exactly getting them confirmed. And on top of it, it's kind of like a slight at the previous administration, too. Oh, look, I got my border czar. Look, compared to your border czar, who I beat in this election by a lot, won the popular vote, won every swing state, you name it. Like, that's what Donald Trump is kind of doing right now. That's kind of what he's looking at. And you still have a lot of great advisors surrounding Donald Trump as well. The Government Efficiency Department. You have Elon Musk. You have Vivek Ramaswamy. You have... obviously, Tom Homan, J.D. Vance, we already knew about because he was the running mate, but he's still going to be in the VP position. So all around, you have Stephen Miller, very solid advisor. He's going to be in a more prominent role than he was last time as Deputy Chief of Staff. You've got all these people largely in the right positions, to be completely honest, in my opinion. And you're building a team that's built to win. You're not building the team of old. And I wanted to bring up the team from old because of all these people. You had, instead of Mike Pence, you now have J.D. Vance. You had Nikki Haley, John Kelly, the same guy that ran with all these fake nonsensical stories to the mainstream media. Remember those? You had Mattis, who again was somebody that Trump had to get rid of eventually because he was not exactly all that solid, but he was very overhyped at the time. You have, you went from Rex Tillerson, you had Pompeo, weak Secretary of States. Pompeo was, marginally better, of course, but still, in my opinion, for even the Rubio skeptics, a lot of them are saying, yeah, I'd rather have Rubio than Pompeo, for sure. Bill Barr. You went from Bill Barr to Matt Gaetz if Matt Gaetz gets confirmed. And if not, you're going to get somebody who's like in that caliber. Like somebody with the right intentions, taking on the establishment instead of Bill Barr, who is the epitome of the establishment. You had Wray as the FBI director. You had Esper, who I think took over after General Mattis, and he was not a very good Secretary of Defense. Trump fired him. Again, another one who's upset and went rogue. They always try to use these people as props on the left. Trump is picking loyalists, so he's not going to be able to have the left use these people as props. You had Elaine Chao, who's married to Mitch McConnell. Her role was not very prominent, Secretary of Transportation, but still, she was in the Bush administration. You were picking people that were from the Bush administration in the Trump cabinet when Trump represents something that's like a turn away from that. And of course, not every pick is going to be, everyone's going to love it. Not every single pick is going to fit that bill. But still, when you go from these people to the point where the people that are complaining about it from the anti-establishment side, the picks that they're critiquing or they're skeptical of, it's far better. Like, instead of worrying about, oh, you have like these full-blown warmongers in there, it's somebody that might be a little hawkish. It's somebody who might be in a position that they might not be in, but even then they still have to report directly to the czar of the main scope of the position. The supposed war hawk that he selected as, I believe, let me see what the position was. It was, let me find the position here if we could find it. No confirmation required. Yeah, National Security Advisor is somebody who has a D- from the Ukraine scorecard. He's not some warmonger who wants to send all of our money overseas. He probably voted for a couple aid packages. Nobody's perfect. But in reality, we got to dial that down. And this is somebody that I feel like has an understanding of that. And it kind of shows based on the fact that these more neoconservative, neoliberal, whatever you want to call them, organizations are grading these people low for a reason. And that's a very good thing that they're being graded low. So it shows that Donald Trump is doing what he has to do to put together a team that can be successful. That's what he's needed to do the first time. He was not in Washington, and he has now 4 years of reflection. And he is making the Democrats say, no, I should have let you win in 2020. Because he's saying, yeah, I'm not messing around anymore. Look what you put me through. Look what you've put my supporters through. And now look what I'm going to put you through. I'm going to try to get these recess appointments done, ram through all these anti-establishment loyalists who are going to represent my agenda, because that is the agenda the people voted for, okay? All these losers on the left, they don't even know how to cope properly. You have people like Dan Goldman, congressman from New York, is saying Trump voters chose him because of the economy and the border. Well, first of all, yes, they did, but that's not the only reasons why he was chosen. And honestly, if they chose Donald Trump after all your nonsensical fear-mongering, and he's going to surround himself with loyalists like every other president does, apparently it's a problem, apparently. It's like, oh, he's putting unqualified people. It's like the point of Donald Trump was to break the system. Whether people voted for him for auxiliary reasons or not, of course they're going to be those auxiliary reasons, because the system is broken. That ties into the border. That ties into the economy. It ties into all these things. That's beside the point. But when you look at this, it's like, yeah, these clowns just don't get it. They never will get it. They try to pretend like they understand the concerns of the Trump voter. You don't, because you're not one. You don't even represent them. And by the way, you lost. Check the scoreboard. He can do what he wants. Nothing matters. He's going to work. And in 2026, we'll look at the scoreboard again, and maybe we'll see a red wave of sorts. We'll see. Usually that doesn't happen. But this is a different time frame. The mainstream media has lost the plot completely. The left has lost the energy. They've lost the culture. They're losing everything. And you wouldn't have thought that a couple years ago, but that's what we're seeing right now. So this cabinet's being put together. It's a pretty decent cabinet so far. There's a lot of slots left to be filled. What about FBI director? What's going to happen there? Could Kash Patel get that slot? What about ATF? That's going to be a big one. Trump is not necessarily always in lockstep with like the more libertarian crowd, but Trump always said he'd put a libertarian in the cabinet. I say put a libertarian at ATF. That'd be something that would make sure the Libertarian Party gets 0.2% of the vote in every ensuing election. So we'll see what happens on that front. But guys, this is a cabinet that's shaping up to be very solid. Whether people agree with every pick, want to give every pick an A, I'm not going to give every pick an A. I think that'd be ridiculous, to be honest. It wouldn't be objective. But there's a lot of potential even in the picks that I don't give A's, and even some of the picks, like I said, Kristi Noem, I don't think that it's really going to matter what she does. She works alongside the border czar, which I'll give an A+ to him, because that was a good pick, and everybody knew it was coming with Tom Homan. He's somebody that really cares about the border. The left does not like him. We know that. The establishment does not like him, and we will see what happens. But we will get to Super Chats as well, because that's important. It's important that we get to the Super Chats as soon as we can. But we got a lot of We got a lot of people, a lot of super chats, so we're going to get to those right now. Let's see. Have a sip of water first. Johnny Heartdog says, do you think Trump will be able to get Gaetz confirmed? I think that it's going to be tough. I'm not entirely sure who the senators are besides Collins and Murkowski who are going to vote against him, but it's possible that there's going to be some holdouts. We'll have to see how it unfolds. It's still a little unsure about how he's going to have to go about these recess appointments thing. Like, is he just going to be able to jam these through before they end up getting like a full confirmation? There's a lot we don't know. Steve Dow for 10 says, Trump 50, Harris 48. Now do you believe me? Yes, we've been over this before. I don't know what the end result's going to be when all the ballots are counted, but it is pretty close to that 50.2, 48.2. There still is about, seems like 4 or 5 million ballots left. I assume a good 2 million of those are from California, the rest from some of these West Coast blue states. So either way, it's going to be close to that. When you round, it should be 50 to 48. The end result might be like a 49.8. Okay. Are we back? I think we might be. Hold on, guys. Still waiting on chat to update. It says we're back. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what exactly is going on, but either way, we should be good for now. We should be good. But it is true. The Trump popular vote victory, he won seemingly by around 2 points. Maybe a little bit less when all the votes are counted. Hopefully he stays above 50. If not, it doesn't matter. He's got a mandate. They said Republicans would never win the popular vote ever again. He won it. If you want to combine his support with RFK Jr.'s support, who's also in the cabinet, he got above like 50.5% nationally. So do the math. So Johnny Heartdog for 10 says, Steve Dow, you were right. I was very skeptical, had a hard time believing it. As far as I'm concerned, you can say I told you so for the next 4 years. You earned that right. So glad I was wrong. Exactly. It's true. Reiterates it. Another super chat also for $20. Johnny says, hey, Rep, something I've been wanting to ask. On election night, when the very first results coming in, how nervous were you? I got discouraged that it was indicative of the night. Almost turned it off until Kentucky. While Kentucky started coming in, I got my composure. Then Florida and Texas came in, and it looked like Trump was going to win. Yeah, I've always, in terms of those states, like Indiana, they report the early votes first. Kentucky does as well. There were some more encouraging results in some counties than others, for sure, because even the early vote in like some of the Kentucky counties was actually like above what the end totals were for Trump in 2020. So again, a little bit of a mixed bag, but when Florida came in, it was like, well, Florida's not indicative, but this looks good. And then Duval came in, which is more indicative of like Georgia, and then Georgia started to come in, Texas started to come in. It was like, okay, well, that's good news. And then like Dallas County dropped in Texas. I was like, wow, he's actually really outrunning his totals last time. And then Loudoun County, Virginia, I think that was telling. But the final dagger, in my opinion, where I'm like, Trump is the overwhelming favorite, was when Lackawanna County came in and Trump outran his previous totals by like 6 points in Scranton Joe's home field. And you saw that happen. So that proved everything I've been saying for months right about who's got the edge in Pennsylvania. It was definitely not San Francisco Kamala. We'll probably never have to be saying that name very often for a very long time, hopefully. Steve Dow for 10 says, Johnny, you're a quality human being, but Rep is a political expert. All the signs were there for a Trump +2. Maybe I'll become the next Alan Lichtman with my signs. Well, maybe you will. In terms of like the Trump popular vote victory, I thought it could happen. It's just so foreign. Maybe that's what it was. It wasn't PTSD from the midterms or the current polling. Maybe it was the recent polling a little bit, but it was more the just pure PTSD for never having a popular vote win that I've been able to witness for a party, or for this party in my entire lifetime. Obviously, 2004, I wasn't obviously too young to remember 2004. So, yeah, I mean, it was really something. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. I thought it was possible. I didn't think it'd be like this. I didn't think like New Jersey and New York would be that close. Like I thought they'd be closer. I didn't think they'd be that close. We talk about like the gradient. Like I called the swing states, right? But usually if the swing states are that close, you're not going to have like a popular vote victory, but we did. And it just happened to just not just happen in like New York, but also in New Jersey, Virginia, even like the Northeast. I didn't think we'd see some of those swings, but we did. We absolutely did. So there we go. We love to see it. We'd rather have it happen than have it not happen. Johnny Heartdog for 20 says, it is my understanding that this new Senate Majority Leader will be forced to go along. If he doesn't, then we'll need to primary every senator who didn't publicly endorse Scott. Too bad. It could have been Rand Paul. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, again, Rick Scott isn't perfect either. There's a reason why I feel like he didn't get the open support of Trump. His colleagues are not the biggest fans of him. He is a more anti-establishment voice when it comes to Senate leadership, and that's true. I wanted him to get the slot, obviously, but I will say that John Thune has started to talk up a big game, a surprisingly good game as well. So he has a lot to prove. He has a lot to go out there and show from his recent rhetoric. He needs to just jam through these, I guess you would say, appointments and these first preliminary bills that I'm sure Trump is going to want to get through. So we'll see. Steve Dow says the signs are the historical polling error, voter registration trends, Gallup party ID. Well, usually, yeah, the polling error at the national level has been minuscule, I will say. Now, maybe I just didn't have the courage to say Trump was going to outrun the polls. I didn't have him like underrunning them significantly. And I knew about the voter registration trends. I called that. I thought it'd be close. I didn't think that it would be that big in terms of what we saw in Arizona or Nevada. I thought he'd win Arizona by like 2, maybe even by 3, partially because of it. But I didn't think it'd be that much. But it is true. The dam breaks after a certain point. What we saw in Florida in 2020, we saw everywhere. And I said this beforehand. You could probably go back, I don't know, you have to sift through hours of streams. But before the election, I said Florida 2020. Like you could get a Florida 2020 in all these swing states because it is true. You're having a lot of people register as Republicans, new registrations. Why is that? Even more so after the midterms than before the midterms in places like Arizona, Nevada. And when you see that, it's like, yeah, that's very telling because it shows where the energy is going, and it shows you have more voters to really just choose from. This whole Republicans for Kamala thing is largely a myth. It was a myth. And even if it wasn't a myth, nobody's going to register as a Republican to vote against the Republican. It's just not how these things work, usually. If you're going to be like a voter, first-time voter who wants to go vote for the other candidate, you're going to register 95, 99% of the time with that party or an independent. Like there's no in between. No in between. Especially depends on which like states got the what's it called, like the open close primaries. That kind of can dictate it too, like Pennsylvania. But yeah, I agree. The Gallup party ID was vindicated. I didn't know if it would hold up. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, I guess. But I knew Trump would win. We called 49 out of 50 seats correctly. We called the Senate composition correctly. The House, we might be off by 1 seat. Obviously, in terms of the aggregated number, 222 is what we had. I think it might be 221 when it's all said and done. Didn't get every seat perfect, but the number is, got to be something. Johnny also says, Steve, by sign, yeah, he of course means the 13 keys, which again, it's a joke. I said it. Nobody believed me. I mean, a lot of people did believe me, but there were a lot of skeptics when I said the keys belong in the trash, especially when you have this nutcase who's not interpreting them correctly. And then what happens? He doesn't interpret them correctly, and the keys are wrong. Who would have guessed? Yeah, if you say the keys show the economy's doing well, when in reality, the fundamentals show that people don't like the economy. From every actual metric you can use that would gauge the public support for the economy, well, out the window. So, Darth Chipmunk says FEMA did 300 semi-trucks to pull up to a random county in northern Michigan and won't say why. I don't know why that is. Also, day 5 of asking, I'm not going to unban the alt. You can ask a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th time. I don't know, maybe on the 11th time it could happen, but not today. People in chat are saying it's my birthday. It is not my birthday today. I don't know where they got that from, but that is just not true. My birthday is not for another 6 months, almost on the day. So not true. So I don't know why people are saying that, but it is not my birthday. But I guess this is going to be my new birthday according to the live chat. Steve Dow says voter registration matters. Seems like people were ignoring it. Republicans are going to win the House national vote by 3. We'll see about that. They can, but the problem I have with that is it was inefficient, and it's not necessarily the fault of Trump. More so it is the fault of redistricting. You're not going to fault the guy who wins the popular vote and sweeps the swing states. You're going to fault the people who are unwilling to fight back about this redistricting, or also the Republicans who don't understand the realignment. They don't get it. They look at a midterm year and then think it's going to carry over to the presidential year. It's not. It never has, and it never will. And we're kind of seeing that. So it's an interesting thing to think about for 2026, and I'm sure we'll talk about that down the line, but we'll see. Johnny Hartog says, how come people can reply to my super chats, but I can't reply back? I'd love to have a conversation with the ones who reply. Well, that's a question for YouTube more so than it is for me. Also, with the election over, do you think your subscriber number will go down till the next election? Just curious. I've been here from the beginning. Well, I'm sure we'll have some people that will leave because they only came for the election. Some may even resubscribe for the next time or whatever. But no, I don't think we're going to see a big dip. I think that this is a very exciting time. It's not exactly like we're a channel that gets it wrong and then loses people and then it really struggles to kind of get them back the next cycle. So, it's just one of those things. I can't exactly say that I'm going to gain as many as I was gaining these past few months, but who knows? It's just part of the process. Luke Newman says, can we knock off Fetterman in 28? I think it's going to be really tough. It's going to be tough. It could be a close race. People said Casey was unbeatable, but Fetterman, Casey was always overrated. He never faced a strong candidate. And now he's trying to steal the election back. It's not going to work, by the way. I'd be very surprised if he did, just because the Republicans are actually fighting back, and there's just too many, just too many long shot lawsuits that they're filing and too many ballots that they're behind. It's not like Al Franken's race in 2008 where it was within 1,000 votes. But the one thing I will say is that Fetterman he's tough to beat just because he's the most moderate Democrat in the Senate now. And it sounds ridiculous to say. He's not really all that moderate, by the way. But he knows how to play the optics game well. He looks like a working class Pennsylvanian. He doesn't necessarily vote like one most of the time, but still, I think he's a tough candidate to beat. But a presidential year, we'll see. We'll see the state of the country then. If Trump has got the economy firing on all cylinders again, if we have ended the wars and Gaza and Ukraine, and China doesn't go into Taiwan and start another conflict, then Trump will indeed have a mandate to the point where it's passed on to Vance, who basically is going to be that figurehead of the Trump administration. And he's also somebody that's, I guess, a little bit younger, a little bit of like a passing the torch kind of thing for 28. So again, if that's the position that we're in 28, yeah, I mean, Trump can, or not Trump, we've ran him 3 times, can't run again, sadly. I mean, well, he'd be old, but who knows? But I think Vance will be the favorite if that happens. Yes, if things go south, then no, he probably won't be. But the truth is, we're like already at the bottom in so many regards. Fix the border, fix the economy as much as we can, try to bring back jobs, onshore manufacturing, try to do what he can do. Now he has Doge. He can look into the debt, balance the budget, do what needs to be done there. Like, there's so many different things to be excited about over the next 4 years, and I'm going to be happy to cover all of them. Giga Chad of NPC says Washington has officially swung more towards Trump from 2020. If trends continue, every state will have shifted right. It's true. It's true. Every state, not a single state, will have moved left between the past election and this election, which is understandable. I mean, not a lot of states move left from 2012 to 2016, but this is bigger. This is much bigger than that. It really is. Ragdoll MMA says, can't wait for Trump's UFC walkout on Saturday night. That should be interesting. Johnny Heartdog for 10 says, funny story. I found your channel through LTE. I loved election predictions, and your channel popped up, and you're the only one who gave Trump a shot at winning. Well, looks like I was right. Johnny Heart Cat. We have a Heart Dog, and we now have a Johnny Heart Cat. Says, we love Rubio and his small hands, but he's been pretty MAGA since he ran away from Alex Jones in 2018 and stood by Trump after 1-6. Yeah, I mean, he didn't vote to impeach. He's not he's overhated, but he's not quite like he's not full MAGA. He has that more neoconservative track record. But again, people can change, and if some of these people that are a little bit like pushover-y are blowing towards Trump, I think it shows more of a testament to Trump and his influence than it is about these people, because you do have some snakes. I have a good intel on a lot of these people that are like bad faith actors, even the people that will say that they're MAGA, people like Lindsey Graham. I don't know if I get that vibe with Rubio nearly as much, but it's really just a thing where he's going to have to do a good job or he's going to get fired. He's going to be out of a job. You're appointed to this position, so you better act. You better do things right. You better, peace through strength is one thing. Start wars for, other countries' benefits another. And if he delivers on the peace through strength thing, then yeah, it's a good thing. Like, people forget and sometimes misinterpret Trump's foreign policy. He's not an isolationist. It's not feasible to be an isolationist. He has a non-interventionist tendency, but he's more like America first in the sense of, yeah, he doesn't want to intervene, but he's not going to like shy away from the world stage. He's the type of guy that likes to push around these other world leaders, like without starting wars. Like, that's the kind of guy Trump is. That's the kind of guy Trump's been. And this notion that he's going to be like a full-on isolationist, not going to happen. This notion that he's going to be this full-on like Bush-era neocon, also not going to happen. And, some of these picks are, I guess you would say, a little bit in between those things. But overall, they're picks that are far better than Trump's first term. And what was Trump's best success in his first term? Foreign policy, probably. I mean, he had a great economy, although, when he left office, COVID threw a wrench in that. But foreign policy, he was very strong on foreign policy. I mean, you talk about bringing people together. Like, he met with Kim Jong-un. Like, people were saying we were going to go to a nuclear war with North Korea, and that didn't happen. So you kind of see that. So even if with all those neocons around him, he was still able to deliver 4 years of, I'd say, an A grade, maybe A minus, because there were some wars we didn't get out of, partially due to those people that were lying to Trump about troop counts in Syria at the Pentagon. But either way, he did what he had to do. He did what he had to do to de-escalate conflicts more so than start new wars. And that was with an atrocious supporting cast. And that's what people need to understand. So I'm willing to give Rubio a shot, a chance. I encourage other people to as well. That doesn't mean he's going to be above criticism if he's going to be doing things that are counterproductive or get us into war. That goes for everybody in this administration for sure. Let's see. Johnny Heart Dog says, loser talks elections. Credit to a guy in regular chat who coined that phrase. Eris Walker says, would J.D. Vance destroy Newsom in 28? Depends on the economy, but I think Newsom's overhyped. I'm not really seeing anyone on the Democrat side that I can point to and say, oh, I'm worried about that person or I'm worried about that person. I think Whitmer's overrated. I think a lot of those people are still very crazy, woke individuals, woke obsessed. That's kind of their problem. But, it's their drug. Will they get it? I mean, AOC's taking her pronouns out of her bio. I don't know how long that's going to last, but we'll see. Either way, it's a win-win if they do try to ease off of that stuff. But we understand what they're like when they get into power. Will they be able to stay away from their little drug, their woke crack pipe? Are they going to be able to stay away from that? I'm not entirely sure they can. It's like trying to root MAGA out of the Republican Party. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to win that way either. So they're screwed. They tried to do the tightrope walk this time. It didn't work. Their outreach to men it turned off more men than it brought in. It was not even close. So I don't know. Johnny Hart Cat says Trump needs to make an official cabinet podcast that's hosted by Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson that's aimed towards young men. I think it'd be great. I don't know if we're going to see that. He can go on podcasts, but he's got to do his job as well. Jonathan Williams for 10 says spicy take. I don't like Matt Gaetz. I believe he was picked knowing he would resign from Congress and wouldn't get confirmed. Keep a seat from flipping due to his unpopularity. Way too much baggage. I mean, we'll see. I don't think that seat was going to flip at all, first of all. I think you could run anybody as a Republican in that seat. They're going to win that seat. It doesn't matter who you run. Find some homeless crackhead on the street corner, put him out there. He's going to win by 30. So it's not about that. But it is about the fact that maybe if there was something in that ethics investigation that would be negative, which I'm not saying there is, but could there be a reason to kind of use this as an excuse to get him around then and also get Trump mad at some of these people or show who's like loyal in the Senate? It's possible. And he also would have the mandate at that point. If Gaetz is too much, maybe Ken Paxton or somebody a little controversial. People would be able to say, okay, I can stomach him, get him through. Like John Cornyn might not vote for Matt Gaetz, but he understands Ken Paxton might be the one leading a charge to primary challenge him in Texas. Maybe he would vote for Paxton just to say, okay, fine, help me keep my seat, you name it. Who knows if that's going to stay that way or if he would actually do it when push comes to shove, but you never know. M says, could Dan Bishop primary Tom Tillis? It's unlikely. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm open to it. I'm open to it for sure. But primarying out a senator who's like kind of weak, but not really weak, it's a tough haul. We'll see. If the party backs him, it's possible. I'm open to it. We're not quite to 2026 yet. Brian S. says, I have health issues partly caused by bad food, hoping they can overhaul the FDA and also make low-cost, higher-quality food more accessible to Americans. That's what they need to do. That's it. Get the seed oils out of food. It's like if people just shop the right way, make their own food, eat cleaner, your whole mood changes. Everything goes for the better. You're going to start losing weight even if you still eat the same like general foods. Like we're making ourselves sick. And it's like, I know fast food's not going anywhere. Well, why not like actually have these organizations start cooking with better ingredients? They will probably taste better, by the way, if they do it right. Taco Bell used to cook with, I think, coconut oil. Now they got rid of that for, I don't know what seed oil they use now. But it's not like it hasn't been done before. So Johnny Heartdog says, Pete Hegseth is a regular guest on Gutfeld. the only good guy on Fox. He's great. I really liked everything he said. Excellent pick. No, Trump would call him central casting. Like he looks the part. He's very intelligent. He'd be great in that position. We'll see what happens. Jaded Craigsman says, I wonder if Gates might be a sacrificial lamb to distract attention away from other nominees and then puts his second pick in, but the other ones get passed over while the focus is on Gates. It's possible. It's possible. But like I said, he has the potential to go down as a very solid, consequential attorney general. We're just not there yet. Michigan Nationalist is still worried that Mick Toomey might sabotage. Dave McCormick? Not really. Not yet. Trump virtually got him elected. He knows that. I was worried about him in 2022 more so than I'm worried about him right now. I'll say that. Doesn't mean that he's not going to be watched. Doesn't mean that we're not ignoring him. All these people need to be watched for sure. J.R. Williams says, have you seen the voting numbers in Wisconsin? More people voting than eligible voters in multiple, I believe you mean precincts more so than counties. But yeah, I don't know where the RNC is on that one, but they do need to look into that. I will say that they do have same day registration. So it is technically true that you can be over 100% in a precinct, but still it's ridiculous. Even when you compare it to 2020, like these are objective irregularities. I always said Wisconsin would go to Trump by around what Pennsylvania would go to Trump by. And you saw the rural shifts in rural Wisconsin, very similar to what we saw in rural Minnesota, rural Iowa. Then you get to Milwaukee, and even though the county shifted right, the raw vote totals were way too high, just high enough to get Tammy Baldwin over the top. That is a little strange. And I'll say this, it's not just the fault of shenanigans, it's also the fault of Democrats funding and propping up fake MAGA third-party candidates that stole like 3% of the vote. Mitch McConnell, stupid spending, didn't do anything correctly this cycle, once again. So it's not just the shenanigans, but the shenanigans likely played a major role. And it also proves that our election system is very beatable if people make it too big to rig, as we said. Donald Trump still won Wisconsin. Donald Trump still won Michigan. He still won Pennsylvania. They're still trying to take it from Dave McCormick. I don't think it's going to work, but you'll see it. And by the way, hopefully them trying to do this to him lights a fire under him, so he's not going to be some total pushover rhino in the Senate. Mike Oxart says Brandon Herrera for ATF. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I don't think it's feasible. I mean, Trump didn't even endorse him for Congress, but would I love to see somebody like that in that position? Absolutely. Absolutely. XJ Cherokee Bear says Corey Mills for Rubio's Senate seat. We'll see. There are several paths that DeSantis could take. He could appoint a loyalist to him and run for the seat himself. He could try to capitulate to our wing of the party by appointing Laura Trump, because I think that there's rumors that a lot of people in Trump's orbit would want her in the Senate. So who knows what he's going to do. I don't know who he's going to pick. Corey Mills would be a solid senator. I will say that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. American Nerd 76 says apparently the Libertarian Party sent a tweet earlier claimed RFK is now a member of their party. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true either. Josh Light says what I'm reading is California 45th is pretty much gone. Can Duarte hold on? Yeah, I think Duarte can hold on depending on what's outstanding. I agree. Alaska and Iowa, that one district, are going to go our way. Miller Meeks needs to be primaried. She is an electoral underperformer and is not that solid of a congresswoman. I'll say that. And she almost lost a primary this year. So hopefully next time we can get her. Jonathan Williams asking if I've been accepted. Not any schools yet. Not any law schools yet. We'll see. But congratulations on your acceptance. Apex Caliber says Elon pays off the rhinos to fall in line Yeah, he should be. He should be. I mean, if we have people, good guys with money that can counteract the bad guys with money that control both parties, absolutely. What's wrong with that exactly? I don't see anything wrong with that. Elon Musk is somebody, yeah, he's got a lot of money, but he has become increasingly, dare I say, red-pilled. He's somebody who cares a lot about the country. He's a perfectionist. Like when he sees something, and gets invested in something, he does not stop getting invested in that thing until the job is done. That's how he built up his business empire, and he's doing it with Department of Government Efficiency, which should be completed by the 250th birthday of America, which is going to be July 4th, 2026. So will it happen? Will it actually happen? Hopefully. And I'm more confident that that can happen because you have somebody in charge of that program who will stop at nothing to get things done and to get them done right and to get them done well and to get them done, dare I say, efficiently, hence the program name. Rachel Devin says, my theory is when Musk and Vivek clean house, the newly unemployed government workers will move out of Fairfax County, Virginia. Presto, Virginia goes red. Thoughts? I mean, we'll see. Is there going to be enough of them? Are they just going to go away? Or are they still going to have jobs in the D.C. area working for lobbyists? Who knows? But it is true. They got to clear out, gut those industries in Nova. Yeah, those people are going to have to disperse after a certain period of time. It could help reverse it. Polite Rude Guy says, I called my senator to amend the Constitution to give Trump a third term in office. I also told them to vote Matt for 8. Well, you're going to have to need Democrats to amend the Constitution. Imagine a Trump v. Obama election after the if they had to really repeal the 22nd Amendment. Like, I don't think it would happen. But I will say that Trump is going to be too old, realistically. I don't think he's going to want to go for another term. That's why he picked Vance as a successor, a double-down selection that worked. Apex Caliber says, you see Dems working with Trump or obstructing. They're going to try to obstruct. But again, the Senate, hopefully we're going to be able to pass enough through with our simple majority that we can. Possibly could even expand it in 26, but we may lose the House. I covered that in today's video. Polite Rude Guy says, I disagree. Trump 2028. We'll see. We'll see. That's up to Trump and the what's it called? Like, he makes a joke about it, and then these people lose their minds on the left because Trump said, oh, yeah, you guys are going to have to amend our Constitution to let me have a third term. He's like, clearly he's joking, but these people can't comprehend that, or they do, and they just pretend not to. But, like, they have no reason to be angry at this point because they lost. They could just take it on the chin and realize, okay, Donald Trump talks like a regular person, regular working class, middle class, even just regular person of any class that's outside of like the political class or like the cultural left. But just because he talks like a normal person, like that's how he won above all else, you could argue, while people lost their mind at the way that people covered how he said certain things, but they're still doing it. It's like, you people lost, just take the L. Like, just do it. I don't know. If you talk about unity, they were the ones that talked about unity in 2020, complained they weren't getting it. Well, they don't want to give it. Well, of course they don't. They don't play by their own rules. Of course not. We have to play by their rules, but they don't play by their rules. So now Trump is saying, I'm going to do what you guys do. I'm going to stack my cabinet full of people I want that are going to represent my agenda instead of having to compromise with the swamp like term one. That's it. Riva says, opinion on Secretary of Defense pick seems underqualified. Look, talk about the qualified people in the Pentagon. Those people probably, you would say, we'd have to steer clear from. And that's what it comes down to. Underqualified, maybe. Is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't think so. Does that mean he doesn't have the intel or the mental capacity to run that department? He has 2 Ivy League degrees. He was a major. I believe he won 2 Bronze Stars medals. I don't know exactly what they're called, but I like the pick. That's not my problem. I don't really have a problem with the pick. Like, he's not some full-on, like, non-interventionist type of guy, from what I can tell. If there'd be an issue with it, it'd be that. But again, he's relatively in lockstep with Trump's agenda. It just maybe with Iran, he's a little bit hawkish. But again, Trump is too. That doesn't mean he's going to want to start a war. It means that he might want to sanction. He might want to do what he can do to make them go broke so they come to the table. Like, that's what we need. And if you have to have somebody who's a little bit hawkish to like scare some of these people, as Trump said about even his rationale behind picking people like Bolton, who's a total pushover, loser, neocon, like to the fullest extent. But Trump literally said that he picked him because he was a crazy person, if you watch the Joe Rogan interview. And I'm not comparing this guy to Bolton at all. I'm just saying that, picking some like tough guy with those tendencies can be a plus. I'll give the pick an A, maybe an A-, because you're right, he can be a little unproven, but there's a lot to like. An A- is still a damn good grade. So Mike Sun says, how do recess appointments work limits? I'm not entirely sure about the full scope of them. Recess appointments, like in terms of what they do, like you can speed run them through like the vetting process to get them in there quickly. I don't know what the limit is. I'm not entirely sure the full scope of how they work, but there's many loopholes that you can use from what I get. Ethan Moon says Barron Trump 48. Well, that'd be 24 years from now. We'll see. Luke Newman says, is it possible to knock off John Ossoff at 26? Very possible. Holtzy OCE says there's a ton of Australians that I know. Every stream, they're always here. Maybe it's because they go live so late. Maybe that's why. But we'll take it. Bay Shaman says, I care about Alex Jones's. Well, I don't think he's going to be press secretary, but he should be for a day because that'd be pretty funny. But I think it's going to be, realistically, it could be Scott Jennings, maybe Caroline Levitt. As hilarious as it would be to see Alex Jones yell at reporters, and what they're doing to him and his business right now is a complete disgrace. But what Trump needs to do, he should be giving out press passes at the White House to people, to reporters, not, give them out to both sides, of course, but that are not a part of the mainstream media. Because you want to decentralize media, that's a good way to do it. Give me a press pass, have me ask the questions, have other people that are content creators, have citizen journalists, you name it, have those people out there asking questions just as much as these like seasoned White House correspondent reporter type of people, definitely would expand the reach of the knowledge of the public as well, because nobody watches mainstream media anymore. TechGeo490 says you change one or two of the economic and major foreign military success key to false. It's a Trump win, but let's be real, at least 10 were always false. Yeah, Lichtman's system's a joke. And it's like, look at the fundamentals. What do people feel about the economy? It's bad. What do people feel about security? That includes foreign, domestic, the border, bad. Are there any other issues that are prominent that are going to impact this election, and which side is winning on them? And the answer is not really. Abortion was not up there, not winning independent voters over. So it's like, yeah, well, then the party out of power is going to win. Hamster Eater 96 says 2026 won't be as bad as 2018. Dems hold about 15 seats, Trump won, whereas Republicans only have about 6 seats, Harris won. Exactly, that's another thing. They're close to maxed. It's not a very efficient map for the Republicans, but it doesn't matter. They still got the House. You'd like to have a more sizable majority for sure. Literally God says, so happy Alaska voted to end ranked choice voting. Yeah, should have never had it in the first place. Beish Shaman says, Jones as press secretary was endorsed by Trump Jr. The people want him. Well, he was endorsed probably in a meme, but it would be funny. It'd be funny if it happened. You'd love to see it. Like people like that, just for a day, maybe 2, maybe 3. Eventually the joke might fade a little bit, but should be a fun time these next 4 years for sure. The tide needs to continue to turn. We can't keep celebrating take our foot off the gas. Can't do it. It's not the time. It's time to get to work. Mike Oxard says, make beef tallow great again. RFK for HHS. That's true. They used to cook in stuff like, beef tallow and these other oils that are non-seed oils, and now everything is in seed oils. It's like, what's going on here? This is why our obesity rate is so high. In part, you're giving people food that they're not supposed to be eating. Nobody ate like this 60 years ago. We were not obese 60 years ago. Other countries don't necessarily eat, even the Western world, like this, and they're not exactly as obese, not even close. So we have a lot to change for sure. Democrats, for decades, they've talked about things like food deserts, and it's all true. It's not just in poor areas. It's hard to find certain food. It's about freedom of food more so than, we're going to mandate. And honestly, we should mandate certain things out of existence because other governments do it and they protect their people. We don't protect our people because Big Pharma and these other organizations have a certain level of pull. And that's why they're losing their minds. They're like, they're trying to pivot to the vaccine argument against RFK Jr., when in reality, it's like that's not a big portion of health. And RFK Jr. doesn't want to ban vaccines. He wants to give people choice of vaccines, which is what they deserve. So Hamster Eater 96 says, if Matt Gaetz falls through, Idaho AG Raul Labrador would be a great pick. Beat an incumbent Rhino, better record than Pact. Well, I don't know about the last part, but we'll see. I'd be open to that too. If he can get confirmed better or faster than Paxton, then why not? Apex Caliber says Tyson or Paul. Brain says Jake. Hart says Mike. I feel like it's the other way around. I don't know. I mean, if Jake Paul can... Mike Tyson's old, but I don't know. That's a tough one. Mike Oxart says, I like how all the picks are young and energetic. Exactly. Like, it's very on brand. Like, if the thing that people can point to about a pick they don't like is like, this congressman might be a little bit more of like a neocon than people would have liked or something for some like obscure position that most people don't even know exists. Or it's like, Marco Rubio may not have a genuine change on like the MAGA stuff. It's like, if that's what we're talking about, then we're winning. Like, I don't think, like, I'm not saying we can't discuss these things, but I'm just saying, like, we have come such a long way. We got to keep going, but we have come a very, very long way. Like, even look at the Senate makeup when Trump came into the White House in 2017. And compare it to the Senate right now. Like, it's done a 180, and there's still so much work to do, obviously. There's so much work to do. But the people that say, they were never going to fix these problems. No, we made a lot of headway. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. Mike Sun says, Herrera has 25K votes on RFK's website. Well, hopefully RFK can get that up the totem pole somehow. Buck Hunter 431 says Nebraska College of Law always welcomes you. Yeah, I don't know if I'd welcome Nebraska. No offense, it's just not a state that I'd really have any intentions of moving to. No disrespect, I'm sure they're great. I'm sure some of them are good people. American Nerd 76 says with the loss of Gaetz, Walz, and Stefanik in the House, how will it affect the majority? Well, Gaetz and Walz, the special elections are going to take place really quickly. DeSantis is speed running those, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. The Peasant Knight says, one thing I'm concerned about is Tesla's China presence. I haven't looked into that. Johnny Heartdog for 10 says Trump needs full support of the Senate, which is why he didn't publicly endorse Scott. If he can't afford to tick off anyone since it's a slim majority, so he stayed out of it. Yeah, that's kind of been what I've understood. And he did get Thune to agree to some of these things like recess appointments. We'll see to what extent those come into fruition. Ice Cold says, Matt Gaetz said, be offended to fat. Yeah, I saw that. That was more than enough to make him AG. That's the qualification for people asking. Johnny Heartdog says, can you see a spot for Tucker Carlson, or would he rather stay where he is? As much as I'd like Tucker to be in some role, it does seem as if he's just kind of a guy who likes to stay out of the Beltway. And I get it. Fully understandable. I will say him as press secretary would be cool, but I don't know if it's a feasible thing to happen, or like an advisory role would be cool. I just don't know if it would come into fruition. Let's see. Temporal Forces for 10 says, Rep, I wanted to ask, why is it hard for Kari Lake to win in Arizona? Are they just locking her out of power? Trump should compensate her by making her press secretary. She'd be great. Well, several reasons. We don't have to get into all of them. But the number one reason is probably the fact that she's made herself polarizing. I will say that she got completely screwed in 2022. That doesn't mean that there weren't still things she could have done to win in 2022 before the election. But I will say that Gallego, I mean, he did run a good campaign, and she's polarizing. And, you know, we understand she got screwed. The average voter doesn't see it that way. You know, they view it the same way that like somebody will view like a Stacey Abrams type of situation. Doesn't mean it's fair, but it just means that that's how they view it. And Gallego outran Harris by 7 points. I mean, he was strong among Hispanics. There's signs. People drive through down Phoenix. There's this Trump Gallego. They knew Trump wasn't going to win the state, so they basically tried to co-opt it, like these Trump Gallego signs everywhere. So it is what it is. I don't know what's next for Lake. Press secretary, I think she could do good. Will it happen? Does Trump want that? That's another question. So Luke Newman says, I heard Hulk Hogan for Rubio's seat. Again, it would be funny. Why not make him press secretary? But I don't think it's viable. That would be entertainment. That'd be entertainment. American Nerd 76 is when I first heard of the Hegseth pick, I was like, WTF. Then I saw a video of him talking about how he wants to reform the DOD and make it formidable. Yeah, that's another thing. Trump has been very tough on the get rid of the woke generals, make people want to join the military again because they don't want to join it, because they look at these propaganda videos and they're clowns. All of them are clowns. Who wants to join these people? So exactly, you have somebody who's just a normal Chad tough guy who is loyal to Trump. Loyalty is important. They say you can't say it, but it is true. We know that. Look at his first term. It is important. And having somebody like that ahead of the DOD, if he gets through and gets confirmed, which I think he could if the hearings go well, then yeah, it'd be a huge win. Qualified or not. Qualifications are arbitrary. Did people think that a celebrity businessman was qualified to be president of the United States? Well, they voted for him once, they voted for him again, and arguably again. So, yeah. Nitin says, I doubt Senators Graham and Britt vote for Gabbard. Well, Lindsey Graham has to. If he doesn't get in line, it's a problem. I mean, Britt probably does. I wouldn't be worried about those people if I'm talking about Tulsi. I wouldn't be worried about those two. So let's see. Ichigo Uchiha says, I heard that Republicans might redistrict Ohio and some other state to gerrymander more seats. Also, should Supreme Court overturn it's parts of that are unconstitutional. Parts of it. Absolutely, there's these districts. They're affirmative action districts. DEI, they give out free seats. They don't give those free seats out to white people in New Mexico or Nevada where they're a minority, but you have to give them out in Louisiana or Alabama or potentially even in South Carolina. It's ridiculous. It is. The geography is not good for Democrats in those places. Republicans control them. If Democrats want to draw Republicans out in New Mexico, I don't care if Republicans draw the Democrats out in Mississippi. I don't care at all. Ryan Amacher says Gates only resigned for his current term. As for his next term, he wrote he does not intend to take the oath. Does not seem legally binding to me. Interesting. But there is a special election, isn't there? I don't know how that would work. Nitin says, is Bill Cassidy off the hook or should he go? Yeah, we know we need to try to primary him in 26. What I will say is be careful, because there's going to be Democrats who just say, okay, we won't run a candidate, we'll just vote for Cassidy. So hopefully we can have a strong candidate run against him who can beat the system in that regard. Because once again, I wouldn't compare it to Alaska's system, but you do have a jungle primary sort of thing going on, so be careful with that. Bay Shaman says Jones's press secretary is a 3D move so Trump can undermine them in the background. It's just not realistic. Justin American says Brandon Herrera for ATF director, hopefully, but it's still a long shot, but somebody like that in ATF would be ideal. Apex Caliber says, did the Simps admit they were wrong yet? They're freaking out about Vance. They want DeSantis. They're never going to give it up. I mean, the primary ended 10 months ago. These people are clowns. All of them are clowns. They have this weird attachment to this, governor who's, just a governor. Plenty of other governors have done a lot of the stuff that he's done that they talk about, if we're going to be honest. Like, it's not worth it. The primary ended. It's over. These people that are like, oh, I'll never vote for Trump. A lot of them still want to have a stake in the party. No, you don't have a stake in the party. I'm not saying people who didn't vote for Trump can't come aboard now if they're like in the general public and admit they're wrong. But a lot of these clowns are saying, oh no, Trump should pick this person. It's like, you didn't vote for him. Who cares what you think? You did everything you can do to undermine him when he was not only at his lowest point, but even when he was, winning the election. They said, oh, he's going to lose, he's going to lose, he's going to lose. Many of them didn't vote for him. So I don't like whatever they're saying. I don't care. He's never going to be the nominee. He showed that he did not have what it takes on the national stage. Whether you like that or not is irrelevant. But he showed it. He became a laughing stock even in non-Trump circles. He did. Nikki Haley pushed him aside and became the number 2 in the primary, basically. Like, what do you want? Like, what do these people want? They've ruined his legacy in terms of people in the Trump wing liking DeSantis as a governor. These clowns have tarnished that for a lot of people by their insufferable behavior. That's the way it is. And they'll point to like 1 or 2 people on like the Trump wing that they don't like as an excuse to excuse all their insufferable behavior. It doesn't work that way, especially when you're starting out down here and Trump's starting up here. They never could understand that. They couldn't adapt. They just lashed out and tried to ruin and start beef with everybody who was unwilling to support DeSantis. It's a cult. They're the cult. They said MAGA's a cult. They're the cult. They're the ones that acted like cult leaders. MAGA was willing to welcome Bill Mitchell back on board. Like, get real. It took a little time. Roasted him, of course. I mean, he deserves it. He's kind of a clown at times, but he came back to his senses, I guess, even if it's grift or not a grift, whatever you want to call it. So, I don't know. Enough is enough. M says Landry abolished the jungle. Oh, good for him. Wow, good for him. I didn't know that. Reasonable DeSimp, the DeSimp we like, I guess, says, as the DeSimp Vance 2028. See, some people get it. Some people said, okay, maybe I want to change from Trump, and then they see Trump out there, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to dial it back a little bit. Trump wins the primary, I'll support him, whatever, and then they back Trump. But there's far more, in terms of the vocal support I've seen, it's the unreasonable crowd. But I will say DeSantis is not going to be that 2028 nominee. It is J.D. Vance now. You're not getting around that. Whether you like Vance or not, he's not losing a primary. If he faces a challenge, it's probably not going to be from DeSantis. It's probably going to be from, I don't know, Nikki Haley will try to run for it again, or somebody in that wing of the party is going to try to run. They're going to get just decimated. Nitin says, I think DeSantis would run for Rubio's seat. And that's possible. If DeSantis is smart, that's what he'd want to do, because he would realize, yeah, I'm not going to be, effective at the national level, but I could still serve in government in that seat. And probably he'd be able to kind of have like this Ted Cruz-esque role where MAGA still likes him but doesn't love him. I don't know. Johnny Hart Dog says, don't call it ranked choice voting, just rank voting, because it's rank. Well, yeah, you rank these people. Very few people get the choice. So we'll see. We'll see. We're probably going to wrap it up in a couple minutes. It's been a good show. We'll probably be back on Sunday night, maybe a little bit earlier than we did tonight. Fax Johnson says Roger Williams in Rhode Island is a good school. Rhode Island is the best. Folks, you guys don't have to sell me on your states. I'm sure your states are great. We'll see. I'll make my own decisions, though, but I appreciate the feedback. Not trying to sound like a dick when I'm talking about other people's states, but it is what it is. But yeah, speaking of Rhode Island moved right like crazy. We love to see that. American Nerd 1776 says, fun fact, Rubio's seat was the same seat DeSantis ran for in 2016. Yeah, I know. That is true. Then he got out of the race. Johnny Hard Dog says, I didn't know it passed. Last I checked, 90% of the votes in. Ending it was 50.4. Keeping it was 49.6. Shocked he couldn't rank a third option. But that's the way it goes, guys. We're going to wrap it up. It's been a good show, and hopefully we get some new appointments by the time we stream next. And I'm going to do a video when it's all said and done with the cabinet, maybe like a documentary style. Regardless, it's going to be a video grading the picks. We're going to give a grade. Every NFL draft, they give draft grades. We're going to give cabinet pick grades to every single pick. Be objective, be fair, look at this from various angles, and go from there, guys. That's what we're going to do when the picks are all in. But I like a lot of what I see so far. I'm not just saying that. Some picks, little head scratching like Noam, but again, it's like it's not like she's going to be the one really running that department, running the show there. So I'd probably give that one like a C. But again, C's average. C is not a failing grade. So anyways, we'll wrap it up. We got one more super chat, but like the stream before you go, get up towards 1,000. David Steiner's question: Wisconsin and Arizona Senate race. The loss seems I think Wisconsin was completely just for many reasons, but also in Milwaukee, too many irregularities, too many shenanigans there. Arizona, I think it's a testament to ticket splitting and also the realignment as well. Keep in mind, Trump lost a lot of these like old school, and he already lost them. It's not like he lost them recently, but Trump from Romney in 2012 lost a lot of these like McCain type of Republicans, and a lot of them are never coming back. But how Trump wins is he picks up these Hispanic voters who never voted Republican before, and those are the voters that Gallego reaches out to. Like there's a ticket split there. So do I think Arizona has shenanigans in Maricopa County? Yeah, probably, absolutely. But do I think that the ticket split itself is proof of that? No, because it's just the way it goes. John McCain outran Trump in Arizona by 7 or I think it was 8 in 2016. You kind of have a reverse version of that, believe it or not, this time around. And also, if Mitch McConnell would have done his job and funded Lake properly, she would have probably had a better shot to win. So it is what it is. But we have more super chats before we end. Boris Davitsky says, it's crazy how New Hampshire was within 3. I should have stuck with my second to last prediction. Would have been a little bit more accurate. Antonis Andriadis says, why did Trump not seem that excited on election night after he won? I mean, it's exhausting when you've been doing this for how many like weeks and months on end did he go travel the nation? They said he was exhausted. It's like, no, technically he was not exhausted because he was still doing it, but it is tiring. It's relieving. I mean, you could watch his 2016 speech. He didn't seem uniquely like excited or emotional. He just gives a victory speech, goes from there. And he was at a speech tonight. He sounded like he was much, well rested, because he really is. And he's looking forward to getting to work for the American people. So you love to see it. So that's the way it goes. But we'll wrap it up, guys. Thanks for watching. Like the stream, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.